Do you remember my very first episode when I repeatedly mispronounced Golovkin's first name? Gennady Golovkin. Gennady might be limited. What's in the best interests of Gennady Golovkin? And do you remember a few episodes later when I repeatedly mispronounced his first name again, although this time an entirely different way? Gennady Golovkin. Gennady Golovkin. Gennady. Someone's brought to my attention that his name is actually pronounced Gennady, which kind of reminds me of saying Gaddy, except it's Gennady, and all that goes to show is that I don't know shit about boxing, and I know even less about proper pronunciation. This is Rummy's Corner. Gennady. Lineal middleweight champion Miguel Cotto returned to action Saturday night when he defended his title against former unified middleweight champion Daniel Geale. The fight, which was televised on HBO, took place at a catchweight of 157 pounds. And guess who was in attendance? None other than Gennady Golovkin himself. Right from the opening bell, Miguel Cotto looked sharp. He looked fresh, he looked fast, and he looked strong. He was working behind a nice jab, mixing in some left hooks, and as the bout progressed, he was working the left hook both upstairs and downstairs, landing it to the head and body with great regularity. It was almost as if Geale wasn't expecting Cotto to make use of his best weapon. Now granted, Cotto has seemed to been making better use of that weapon since teaming up with Freddie Roach, a point the HBO commentating team made repeatedly, but nonetheless, Geale seemed ill-prepared for what Cotto brought to the table, and that was pretty much the story of the fight. Cotto was landing his left hook, Geale was looking off balance and not sure of himself, and things came to an end in the fourth round where there was a headbutt in there, but Cotto landed a brilliant left hook. Geale went down. It was basically all over after that. He would rise to his feet. Cotto would pin him. I didn't think there was any way that Geale was going to survive this round at the moment. And you can see here he's pinned in the corner, and as they come out here, Cotto is going to land a series of punches, and it was a right hand that dropped Geale the second time. He didn't want to continue, and it was an impressive victory for Miguel Cotto. It was the first time he had fought in over a year, or about a year exactly, since he'd won the title in an upset victory against Sergio Martinez, and it was a good win for Cotto. I thought that Geale was going to give him some problems, and it didn't happen that way. And after the fight, the man at ringside no doubt was going to be part of the questioning from Max Kellerman in the post-fight interview. But what happened when asked about Gennady Golovkin was rather comical.
Gennady Golovkin is sitting here ringside, and you just fought a guy who he knocked out recently, and you look just as good knocking the same fighter out. Do you have interest in that fight?
Why not? But we need to do our fights. Canelo sounds to be the next one.
I mean, the look on Miguel Cotto's face is absolutely priceless. It was as if he was caught totally off guard, and I find this utterly baffling. You would think that Cotto would be prepared for the fact they were going to ask him a question about Golovkin, and look at this again. I mean, Miguel, ladies and gentlemen, that's the look of a man who does not want to fight Gennady Golovkin. And he made that pretty clear. Again, the delayed reaction there. Did Miguel Cotto, what? I have no idea. But he made it clear. I think he's looking in the direction of Canelo. So where does that leave us as fans? So with that, I think that the best fans have to hope for are two particular fights. Cotto doesn't want Golovkin, so he did express some interest in Canelo. We can hope for Cotto Canelo to take place sometime this fall. And I guess the other one is that we really need to hope, I think it's one of the best fights that can be made in boxing right now, is the rumored talks going on between Golovkin and Froch, because I think Gennady has finally realized that he is not in a position to land these big money fights at middleweight, and everybody seems reluctant to face him. He's good enough that he might as well test his luck at 168. I mean, I think the wiser moves for him to stay at middleweight, but for boxing fans, a fight between Golovkin and Froch is pretty much tops on the list of fights that fans want to see, or it should be at the top of, or near the top of almost any list from any fan. I welcome that fight. I welcome Cotto Canelo. And I'll close on this note. In a perfect world, the champion in each division, and I wish there were less divisions, but the champion in each division would regularly have to fight the man who really was his best available challenger out there. And we don't live in a perfect world. That's not gonna happen. By all rights, Gennady Golovkin deserves a shot at the legitimate middleweight champion, but deserves got nothing to do with it. The politics, the business side, everything that's bad about the sport is going to prevent that fight from happening, and I can't blame Miguel Cotto. He's looking to cash out at the end of his career. He's looking to take the least amount of risk for the most amount of reward. And for him, that means Golovkin isn't in the cards. I do hope that Golovkin and Froch comes together though, because that's a super fight that should be at or near the top of every boxing fan's wish list. This is Rumsfeld. Thank you for tuning in. Stay tuned for more episodes in the future.
Buena, you know, but